What was the most porno situation you've ever had? Back when I delivered pizza, I was greeted at the door by a woman wearing the skimpiest of clothing, nearly completely see-through. I think she noticed that I was looking at her nipples and she mentioned her and her husband were swingers. Asked me to come inside, but my anxious ass declined. So she just took off her top and gave me some cash. I had a pest control guy come into my condo without really knocking when I was about 20 years old. I had just gotten out of the shower, so I was in only a bathrobe. I also had just done laundry, so all my delicates like bras, panties and lacy lingerie were hanging around to dry. I have no idea what that poor guy was thinking I was trying to do, but I swear I just didn't realize he was coming. A while back was doing some physical therapy and walking back and forth in some parallel bars. It was me, male, my therapist, female, and a trainee who was shadowing her for a few weeks, male. She needed to check that my glutes were properly activating as I walked, and he needed the experience to know what to look for. So I was slowly walking back and forth while they shuffled along behind me, a hand on each of my ass cheeks. The situation was normal/professional enough until another therapist, female, walked into the room and sort of froze in surprise, trying not to laugh. It was hard to deny the ridiculousness of it after that. When my sister's French exchange student came to the UK to stay with us after she left university to help improve her English, one night after a few too many drinks she came into the bathroom while I was having a shower and everything went way better than expected. Delivered pizza to a hotel where a drunken orgy was going on. Customer gestured to me, 19-year-old nerd girl, mousy and unattractive, then to the scene, which included a guy snorting coke off a stripper's back, and asked, "Wanna play?" Turned him down because I was more concerned about paying rent. Also turned down his tip offer of a baggie of cocaine. He tipped me $50 though, so that was cool. First sexual encounter was while camping out with two girls on New Year's Eve, in a situation framed by a very basic and immature premise that ended in, well, you could just have sex with us instead. The real kicker, I lost my virginity like 7 years later. The night was hours of foreplay, oral and groping, but we refrained from actual sex as we didn't have protection. Sex with female roommate. We had just started season 1 of Doctor Who. She found it boring and legit said, "This is boring, wanna rock?" Also prior to this, she would walk around in thongs and bend over in front of me while doing laundry, and plenty of other random acts of accidentally doing stuff like this occurred. Do not eat where you eat. Ended up ruining everything a year later. As cool as it was, ruined our friendship and mutual friendships as well. I was a cable guy. I did an install at an apartment that turned out to be a porn studio. They were interviewing a girl for a potential job, asking what sort of scenes she'd be open to doing. As I recall, she was into lesbian stuff and interracial, but not anal. Nothing happened, but in my mind I was thinking, I'm pretty sure this is how most 1980s porn scenes start. I could see that being a modern porn ad. Something like you're listening in on the interview, they leave, and you come back saying you're there for the casting couch portion of the interview. You work on the couch and afterwards you sneak out the back door and the interviewers are wondering why she's suddenly naked. Scene. Went to a friend's house party and ended up in a foursome with him, his girlfriend, and one of his girlfriend's girlfriends. I had way too much to drink though, so with that on top of the anxiety about the whole situation, I couldn't perform at all. I'm barely a twosome kind of guy, let alone a foursome. No idea how that whole thing happened. The carpenter renovating my room thought I was gay. I'm a straight guy. We were alone in the house. I finished taking a shower and was only in my towel, and I innocuously analyzed his shirtless torso in all its glory, wondering what routine is he doing in the gym. Maybe I was staring too hard. He then approached me and tried to make out with me. I pushed him and laughed and said no. He said he thought I wanted to have sex with him with all the stares I was giving him. Lesson learned, to be more aware how I'm staring at people. My mom hired a guy to build us a deck and I saw him looking at me through my upstairs window on the first day. He was super hot and Russian, and the idea of us being alone and him working while I brought him drinks and snacks was so exciting. Me being an 18-year-old was already sold into the idea of screwing my contractor. We act on the last day of installation. He was a goodlie, but the deck turned out like it. Burning Man. Entered a tiny geodesic done with a girl. 2 girls in bikinis followed us in and literally sat down and spread her legs wide open at me, grinning. I probably would have done the thing, but the girl I was with was not into it. I hooked up with my friend's mom when I was 19 or 20. It was absolutely as awesome as I'd been imagining it since I hit puberty. Edit. So basically me and a few friends were at my friend's house drinking one night. We were all under the impression that his mom was gone for the night. When it came time to pass out for the evening, instead of opting for the cramped love seat in his living room or on the floor, I decided I'd just crash on his mom's bed instead. Well, 30 or so minutes later, the door creaks open and she turns on the light. No big deal really. I explained why I was up there and began to excuse myself, not even really thinking anything of it. Then she says, no, it's okay, I don't mind if you stay. Instant boner. She then undressed right there in front of me and put on one of those little silk nightgown type things and crawled in bed next to me. I'm pretty well frozen with excitement/fear. Apparently she recognized that and just went for it. Reached over and slid her hand down my stomach and inside my shorts. After that, I snapped from my brief paralysis and handled business. Afterwards I excused myself downstairs so as to not raise anybody's suspicions in the morning. I used to work at a restaurant and a colleague of mine slipped, spilling all the drinks over me as I was trying to catch her. Since my boss lived above the restaurant, he offered me to take a shower upstairs to clean myself up. I gladly accepted. However, this was never communicated to his wife, so she thought her husband was in the shower and decided to surprise him. So she snuck into the bathroom. It didn't have a lock, got naked and pulled the shower curtains open in one quick motion while striking a pose. To her surprise, it wasn't her husband that was showering, it was me. I also happened to be facing the shower curtain as she pulled it open. We both froze for a couple seconds and locked eyes. She closed that curtain as fast as she opened it and apologized about 100 times on her way out of the bathroom. I just started laughing when she had left and fully realized what had just happened. I finished my shower, went back downstairs, and told my boss what happened. He bursted out laughing and asked if I liked what I saw. I answered with a yes, got a pat on the back and just went back to work. Me and my boss's wife never talked about it, but my boss would sometimes tease his wife with it when only us 3 were present. TLDR, got to see my boss's wife full naked while taking a shower. With my ex-girlfriend, I'm female. We lived in a ratty bedsit, one big, ash room, so only had space for our double bed. This was all well and good until we had an electrician come round to sort the plugs. He was a young-ish lad, around 21. We were only a couple years older at this point. We didn't want to just hover around him, so we kind of half sat/laid awkwardly on the bed, trying to make small talk until I couldn't take it anymore and just said, well, this is the start to a lot of porn, isn't it? Meaning nothing of it, but it was funny and awkward and I can't stop myself from saying dumb it. Like my girlfriend looking at me and trying not to die laughing, and this poor kid stopped everything he was doing, stared at me, turned bright red, nearly broke his neck turning his head back to the plugs, and we spent the rest of the time with such a weird/awkward tension in the room with a few strictly professional things from him. I was in the army, and I was home for 2 weeks for my mid-to leave from Iraq. Some of my friends wanted to go out to a bar for one last hurrah before I headed out of town again. One of my buddies invited this girl from his work to meet us there. She wasn't super hot, but she was attractive enough, wore the librarian glasses, and had like DDD breasts. I was pretty buzzed, and she kept talking it to me, which I later learned was her way of flirting, and it pissed me off, so I left. Well, she got my number from my buddy and kept calling me back to back. I finally answered, and she says, you've had too much to drink. Just turn around and come back to my apartment, it's closer. So, that's what I did. Once I got to her apartment, she answers the door in just a t-shirt with no bra and panties. She's just standing in the doorway, and I asked, so why did you invite me here? She responds, why do you think? So, I gently push her against the wall and kiss her while shoving my hand up her shirt. She gasps and then gave me a semi-hard slap to the face, but then grabs me by my shirt collar and pulls me into her apartment. She leads me to her bedroom, and right before she takes her shirt off she tells me, "You're leaving for war again. You can do whatever you want to me." We proceeded to have the most just raw, raunchy kinky sex for the next 3 minutes and 47 seconds. Made it back from Iraq about 7 months later, and met up with her again. Lovely girl. Edit. Typo. In college a man, went streaking in the middle of the night through an empty field with 3 lady friends. 2 were pretty religious, and I think that was the most raunchy thing they had ever done. Afterwards we laid out on a blanket, heads in on each other's bodies, still naked, and looked at the stars. That is as far as it went though. Edit. Are so many of you really so horrible that the only way you can conceive of doing a non-sexual nude thing with friends of the opposite gender is to be gay? I was hanging out with an ex-GF that I occasionally still had sex with and a girl I had a crush on. The 2 of them started making out. I got to join in. It got as far as the crush getting topless. There were some follow-up sessions, but the crush was nearing graduation from college and realized she hadn't done any sexual experimentation. The ex was into it, but only so long as a guy was involved somewhere.